Hi, hello everyone. Today we will see what is the role of transforms in our SailPoint Identity Security Cloud. In SailPoint's cloud services, these transforms will allow us to manipulate attribute values. It can be identity attributes or account attributes. We will discuss what is the difference between identity attribute and account attribute in the next video. Okay, so this transforms allows you to manipulate the attribute values when while aggregating from the source or provisioning to a source. సో బేసిక్గా మన అట్రిబ్యూట్ వాల్యూస్ని మ్యానిపులేట్ చేయడానికి ప్రొవిజనింగ్ చేసేటప్పుడు ఈ ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్స్ అనేవి హెల్ప్ అవుతాయి. సేల్ పాయింట్ ఐడెంటిటీ ఐక్యూలో మనం రూల్స్ రాసి చేయాల్సి వచ్చేది. బట్ ఇక్కడ ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్స్ బిల్ట్ ఇన్ ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మ్స్ ఉంటాయి. వాటితో మనం ఈజీగా చేయొచ్చు అనమాట. So what are these transforms basically? We will be discussing on these all topics which are related to transforms. If you want to see what all are covered in this video, just pause and have a look at this. Okay. So transforms, as I said, they will allow us to manipulate the data. How and what are transforms? These transforms are considered as configurable objects that define easy ways to manipulate attribute value without requiring us to write any code. So, transforms are configurable building blocks which we can consider with sets of inputs and outputs. So we will give some input to a particular transform and the resultant will be the output. It's as easy as it. Because there is no code to write, an administrator can configure these by using a JSON object structure, and we just have to upload them into ISC using the APIs. So APIs, REST APIs, transform REST APIs, we will be using this. And there is another name, or we can call it as a code name for transforms, that is called C-sprays. Okay, so sometimes the transforms are represented as C-sprays also. So how this transforms works basically. So these transforms have inputs and outputs, as I said. The way that transformation occurs mainly depends on the type of transform. Okay, for example, if you want to convert some text to a lowercase, then we will be just giving input which is not in lowercase to the transform, and the transform will convert the input which we have given, and it will give us the output as the lowercase text. So the name of the transform here, which is the enterprise transform, which is inbuilt transform, is lower. Okay, there are other types of transforms also. For example, if you give a attribute as phone number without giving any country code, then we can use E1644 transform so that it will automatically append the country code to the phone numbers. So here we will be giving the input as a phone number without country code, and we will apply E1644 transform to this input, and what we get as output? Yes, you're right. You will be getting a country code along with the phone number. So how easy to manipulate the data here using transforms, right? So in this case, we are giving only one input to one transform and resultant is one output. But we can also give multiple transforms, multiple inputs to one transform. Suppose, let's take example of a concatenation. We all know, right? String concatenation. Suppose this is the first name, this is the second name. And if you want the display name as the combination of first name and last name, then you will give first name as one input, last name has been one input to the concat transform, and resultant will be first name dot last name. So dot also we can append it in one of the inputs. Then it will be added as first name dot last name. Or if you don't want a period, you will directly give first name, last name. To apply to a transform, you will be getting the output as the concatenated name. And we can also implement some complex nested transforms. So what is nested transform? A transform within a transform is nothing but a nested transform. Suppose here we have used the concatenation string, and if we give this as an output to one more transform like lower or upper, then the resultant output will be converted into lowercase or uppercase. So this is nothing but nested transform. So is there any limitation for the number of transforms that we can nest? No, there is no limitation as such, but the more transforms you use, the more complexity it will be increasing yourself. So it will be difficult to handle sometimes, right? So we have to consider that if we are using the nested transforms simply or making your life difficult. Okay, so configuring transform behavior. How do you configure that? So this is how we use nested and complex transforms. So some transforms can specify an attributes map that configures the transform behavior. Each transform type has different configuration attributes and different uses. So to better understand what is configurable per transform, we have to just go and research our usage of transforms by applying it to different attributes and all. So it is possible to extend the earlier complex nested transform example. If you replace a transform which replaces a certain string with replacement text also, suppose in some cases we have to change the domain name for the email ID from .com to .in or biz to baz, something like that. So then here we will use a replace string transform so that the domain name will be replaced with that, right? So you will be getting a output of the replace transform and as well as the concatenation of first name, last name, as well as the domain name. So let's see a simple syntax of a transform. So each and every transform is written in the JSON code and it is having at least 3 key value pairs. So this is called key and these are the values. So transforms are called key value pairs. So name, the name of the transform. So it refers to a transform in the Identity Security Cloud API or the user interface. With this name only, we will be able to see in our interface. So only provide a name on the root level transform. Nested transforms do not need any names. Then type. So here lower is the type of the transform. So what does this do? This will convert the string, the lowercase, any type of string to a lowercase string. So that means this type is determining the transform's behavior. Then attributes. So this specifies any attributes or configurations for controlling how the transform works. So as we have mentioned in the earlier configuration transform behavior, each transform type has different set of attribute values. So this is the basic syntax. Then there is something called template engine inside, wherein it will be using Apache Velocity script, Apache Velocity template engine, and that will allow our transform to reference transforms and render values passed into the transform context. So every string value in a C spray transform can contain templated text and will run through the template engine. Okay, so let's take an example here. So hello name is the transform string. So if name is Alex and that Alex is passed into the string, the output will be hello Alex. Okay, so this is internally done by the template engine. Then we can pass values to a transform in two ways. So we can pass it implicitly or we can pass it explicitly. So what is the difference between implicit and explicit transforms? A special configuration attribute value is available to all the transforms and that is called input. If the input attribute is not specified in our transform, suppose if you see here in attributes, there is no input value given here. So this is called implicit transform and the value here will be taken from the source from where we are applying the transform to, from where the attribute value is taken. But when we consider this example, we have given some input value here. So this is called the explicit type of declaration. If the input attribute is specified, then this is referred to as explicit input and the system's input is ignored. That means the implicit value which comes from the system will be ignored and it will be overwritten by the explicit input. Okay, so let's talk this as an example. So let's consider there are two sources. An account on source 1 with department which is set to services and an account on source 2 with department set to engineering. Okay, so here when we apply the transform lowercase department, what happens here? So the name of the transform is lowercase department and when we apply it to the attribute, what happens here is the name of the attribute will be changed to logo because it is already set to department by default on source one. You will be getting the department as the output with lowercase. Here, if you notice, there is no attribute value which we have given. So this is an example for an implicit transform. So the transform uses the input provided by the attribute you mapped on the identity profile. We will see in the UI a little later. So similarly, if you see the explicit value here, that there is an input value here. Okay, so the transform uses the value source 2 provided for the department attribute, ignoring the configuration of the identity profile. So implicit input is more powerful than the explicit. Sorry, explicit input is more powerful than the implicit input. Okay, so the transforms are configured separately from the transforms applied via the identity profile mapping tab. So we can apply transforms to our identity attributes as well as the account attributes. So how do you test the transforms? So when you are applying transforms, testing is very important. So first we need to test the transforms which we have created and only then we will move to the production. Suppose we are testing a transform for an account create profile. So what you have to do, first you must generate a new account creation provisioning event This involves granting access to an identity who does not already have an account on the source. So, an account is created as a byproduct of the access assignment. This can be initiated with access request or even role assignment also. So, applying transform on account create. Once the transforms are saved to the account profile, they are automatically applied for any subsequent provisioning events. So, you can ask me a question like, are there any rules in SailPoint ISC? Currently, there are some rules which are existing, but most of the tasks are done by transforms itself. So sometimes it is very difficult to decide whether to implement a transform or to a rule. So both transforms and rules can calculate values for identities or account attributes. Even if the functionality is similar, then why you have transforms and rules? So these are very different implementations. Transforms are JSON based configurations which are editable with Identity Security Cloud's transformed REST APIs, whereas rules are implemented with Bean Shell or Java like syntax. So what we have to do, they must follow the Security Cloud Rule guidelines, and they require SailPoint to be reviewed and installed into its tenants. So it is a little difficult when compared to transforms. And rules, however, can do things that transforms cannot do in some cases. Because transforms has easier and more accessible implementations, they are generally recommended. With transforms, any identity security cloud administrator can view, create, or edit and delete them directly with the REST APIs without involving the SailPoint team into it. So that's a little introduction about implicit and explicit transforms, what the transforms uh, are provided in SailPoint, and what is a transform and all we have seen. So hope you have got little understanding about transforms. See you in next video with what's the difference between identity attributes and account attributes.